Well, we've been on the road for a little over 2 months. We just hit 10,000 miles, well, a couple days ago because it took us a while to make this video, but we thought we would give you guys a little bit of an update and talk through a list of the most common questions that we get. So
the first one is, where do we go to the bathroom and where do we shower? We go to the bathroom outside a lot. We also, honestly, it's not that difficult to find a restroom that you can pop into, whether it be a coffee shop that we're at or like a fast food drive-through. So it actually hasn't been a problem. And then for showers, Sam actually made sure that there was a hot shower installed off the back of the van, so we use that if we're in the appropriate wilderness and the weather is right. Otherwise, we bought a Planet Fitness gym membership, and there are Planet Fitnesses all over the country. It's pretty popular in other van lifers that are doing this, and it's cheap. It was $20 a month for both Sam and I. It's like a buddy system pass, and so yeah, it's been great. We just pop right in and use a shower and head out, and the facilities are really nice. So honestly, not a problem as much as people think it is.
yeah, actually, it's surprisingly not difficult. I think it takes a little bit more planning. Like, when we're at the Target, we'll go to the bathroom because we know that we won't have one for another couple hours. So little things like that, but overall, it's not too difficult. Next thing would be what the hardest part of van life has been. I think both of us would agree that it's probably the lack of routine and not really knowing, where we're going to sleep tonight, or, well, we know where we're going to sleep tonight, but not knowing where to sleep every night or what we're going to do the next day, and trying to get more of a plan around kind of where we want to go and what we want to do when we get there has helped. But I mean, the flexibility can kind of be a curse when it feels like a burden to make 100 decisions every day about, where we're going to find Wi-Fi for a coffee shop, or, camp that night, and, et cetera. It just can be a lot of decisions every day. So the lack of routine is probably the hardest part.
Yeah, I would agree. Sort of on the flip side, the other question we get a lot is what's been the best part of van life. And so I think on this, we also both agree that one of the best parts is the dogs and just seeing how happy they are. Especially after having been in the city for a couple of years, the both of them. It's just been incredible to see how happy they are to like have this access to outdoors every day, not just on the weekends. So that's probably been one of our favorite parts.
Yeah, literally being able to open the door and have them just run out and go around on the lake, it's pretty incredible. And I think, San Francisco just didn't allow them to get outside as much as they wanted, so they sleep a lot better now. It's pretty nice to have them pass out early and feel like, they were exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think one of the other best parts about van life, for me at least, is being able to like see and experience some of these smaller towns or just places on a map that I either never knew existed or most definitely would never have like planned a trip around. So it's been really great, especially like in between, or it's been really great to not only go to all the places that have been on our bucket lists and, we're seeking out, but all the spots in between, especially like the unexpected ones, has been really cool to experience.
Yeah, like we went through this town Winthrop in eastern Washington that was just kind of, we saw it on the map and we knew that we'd be able to find national forest camping right outside of it. So they also had mountain bike trails, and we kind of just decided like to spend a couple days there. So it was actually a great town. It had like this old Western feel downtown straight out of the 1800s. And we met a lot of people at the coffee shop that were able to give us recommendations for later on the trip. And yeah, it was awesome just to kind of come across this town that otherwise was not really on our radar at all.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads to the next question, which is where we park and kind of how we're planning our route. So we're using an app called iOverlander, and there's also an app for mountain biking called Trail Forks. Both of them work completely offline, which has been really nice because we don't get quality self-service all the time. But yeah, both of these apps are basically showing you where you can camp at informal campsites, or basically there's thousands of people traveling the country. They are finding fire rings and informal campsites around the country, just from exploring, and they're making a note of it on this app, and then other people are checking in and commenting about whether there's cell phone service, or if it's dog friendly, or if they had cops knock on their doors. So it's been super helpful to be able to figure out these kind of free campsites throughout the country. because the reality is like state parks and city parks and everything like that end up costing between $25 and up to $45 a night. So if you think about that, you know, for a year, it adds up. And these free campsites that are pretty much just as nice because there's nobody else there and you can just have the dogs off leash and just explore a little bit more. It's been awesome to kind of have that luxury from these apps that literally didn't exist 3 years ago. So it's super nice.
Yeah. Another question we get often is where we do our laundry. Obviously don't have washer and dryer anymore, so we were using laundry mats just sort of wherever we could find them. We recently had a pretty, not a bad experience, but a less than ideal experience, and so we've actually found that using the hotel laundry when we do get those hotel stays every couple weeks is definitely the better route. Not only are they cheaper, they're a lot cleaner, and they're just, you have more space there than you would in like a public laundromat. So yeah, it hasn't been too bad. We do laundry about once a week. We have like a shared dirty laundry bag, and that gets full in about that time. So that's our signal that it's time to go clean.
Yeah, and I think we can make it longer than a week, but a lot of it is just the convenience of not having laundry pile up, and maybe it'll be worse in the winter when we're going through more layers and just, you know, wearing more clothes in general. But for now, it's been pretty easy to find a place to do laundry every couple weeks.
Yeah.
How are the dogs is another question that we get pretty often. I mean, living in a small van with 2 people and 2 very big dogs is definitely something that we're a little concerned about, but the reality is that we've been staying at places that the dogs have been getting out every day and just totally exhausted by the end of it. So I think they're loving it. You know, they get a lot more attention because you know, we have all day with them, so it's nice that we can just spend the days with them and explore a little bit more. And yeah, I don't know, they're adorable and they bring a smile to our face, so it's been incredible to have them in the van.
Yeah.
I will say that in Canada, the dog food rules are different, which was fascinating, but like none of the food that we can get in America is high enough quality for Canada, and they were very quick to tell me that everywhere we went. But the food situation has become, it's like a little bit more difficult because they eat pretty high quality food, and you need to have a place to ship to, you know, off of Amazon, because a lot of the local stores are more like grain and feed dedicated, where they're more towards like dogs that aren't, you know, spoiled like these ones.
Mm-hmm.
Next question I get pretty often is how running the business from the road has been. I think overall it's been pretty good because of the way that the company has been built around Slack and kind of this remote culture and having people kind of all over the world. To give you a bit of a background, there's Adrian in Chile handling support tickets, Gage in North Carolina making all the products, and then Kathy in Orange County that ships all the products. So what we do is all through basically Slack and Facebook ads and Google ads and just online marketing, and also just reaching out to ambassadors, maintaining those relationships. I think the hardest part so far has been the cell service. I invested in a like enterprise router, basically like what ambulances use to get cell phone service, and I thought it was going to be a lot better in the rural areas, but the reality is you're in the most remote areas in the country and they just don't have cell phone service. So we're planning around, you know, coffee shops or, you know, McDonald's and Starbucks that have Wi-Fi. Also, the data has kind of been an issue, and when we went to Canada, you know, little things like that, like you basically run through your data too fast, then you can't use the Wi-Fi in the van for the next, you know, 2 weeks, which was pretty miserable, and we've since, you know, adjusted and realized what we can do to get around that. But yeah, small things like that around connectivity has been one of the major problems, but I think in general, like all of the internal things with APC have gone really well. It's more about working with partners and like manufacturing people to develop the harness and new products that becomes a little bit more difficult when you don't have a place to ship to.
Which leads us to our next question, which is how do we get packages? I'd say first and foremost, we just aren't doing as much online shopping, obviously, as we were when we had an apartment, because we just don't have anywhere to put it. And because finding an address can be somewhat difficult. We've been fortunate enough to have friends along the way so far. Shout out to Brenner and Lexi and Olaf in Seattle that were willing to accept packages for us. And so we knew that we would be heading their way in a couple weeks. Went ahead and like shipped a lot of stuff to them. And that's been really, really helpful just because we don't have that. We're now starting to look into Amazon lockers and just other sort of temporary acceptance sites that we can use. We used a hotel once, so we'll book a night a couple weeks out or a week out and use that as a spot as well. But if you want to be
a package partner, where we can ship our packages along the route, specifically like Upper Michigan, that would be awesome, or somewhere, you know, further.
So specific.
Yeah, further along the route, maybe up in, you know, actually outside of Upper Michigan, like that would be ideal. Actually, anybody in the Midwest, reach out, please.
Let us know.
But yeah, getting packages, I mean, we're just not ordering as much, and thankfully, like the 8-foot ladder that I needed to get for the side of the van, we were able to ship to Lexi and Olaf, so it hasn't been that difficult. And I think yeah, as the van feels more complete and there's less to get, basically there's less need to have packages.
Yep. And the last question is really just like how we're meeting others on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just nice to talk about the incredible people we've met along the way, and just the ambassadors that have opened up their cities and recommendations to, you know, what we should do and where we should go. It's just been awesome. So just want to say thank you and appreciate your guys, you know, hosting us in your homes and letting us shower and do our laundry, or, you know, just showing us around the city and telling us where to go and camp. It's just been awesome to feel like a local in these places that otherwise we wouldn't go. So yeah, that's about it. So just wanted to give you a bit of an update now that it's been 2 months on the road. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Happy to talk. Thanks.
Make sure you have our number.